Well, welcome back to my channel Workshop Friend. Today I'm joining you from my other workshop in Pakistan. So I started some pattern making back in the UK, continued it here, and then took the patterns down to a local foundry, had a bit of consultation with them, did some small modifications to the patterns, and then had the molds produced and the castings made. So I'd like to go through the whole process with you and show you what the end result is and how it's worked out. Let's have a closer look at the patterns. First of all, these are the two patterns for the fixed steady for my Myford lathe. It's based on the original design, except it's larger in diameter. And also I've added these features here, which will allow me to have screw adjustment for the fingers. And I'll use as many of the existing components as possible, so the bolting arrangement, the clamp, the fingers themselves. I will use those interchangeably from my other fixed steady. I tried to make it as lightweight as possible, removing unnecessary material such as these recessed areas. So here's the Adcock and Shipley mill overarm bracket. When I acquired the milling machine, I knew this was missing, but I thought it was something I could probably have a go at making. The turning I did in the UK, and I brought the three round sections over here, joined them here, and put this webbing between. And this is a little more complicated than that because it has three cores. I didn't want to cast it solid. I wanted to have the material in it that I really needed, not a lot of excess material. And plus the fact if you have large volumes of material with thinner webs, I think you can end up with problems. So tried to keep more of an even distribution of material around the pattern. That caused a little bit of a problem at the foundry because this core and this core intersect each other, and you'll see in the video footage how he got around that problem. For the extra large Myford fixed steady, I based it on the original smaller fixed steady which I have. I produced these CAD drawings, and then from that I began to prepare the wood for the patterns. So I laminated the wood. It really wasn't very good quality wood, but it's what I had available. Laminated it and then began to turn the main ring. The overarm support bracket for my mill was more of a challenge because I had no fixed dimensions except the diameter of the shaft and the distance between the centers. So I used photographs and a brochure, and from that came up with this design. And then I began by laminating some blocks to produce the main boss, the secondary boss, and the boss which runs at right angles on the top. And here I'm carefully joining the round sections to make the overarm support. So I brought with me what I'd worked on to date to Pakistan. Here I had better quality wood available to me, and I was able to complete the pattern making. You can see that we're almost there. There's quite a lot of work actually in these, but when I think of what I get out of it, which is going to be hopefully an iron casting which is almost as I want it, except for some fairly limited machining. So I think it's worth the effort. Certainly for me, there's no other easy option. Fabrication wasn't an option for me. So what I'm doing at the moment is putting radii in this internal feature here. I've made up this little form tool here to try and get those in. That's easier said than done. I've got a smaller tool here which I use for the radii in these smaller features, like that. One other thing to note at the moment is the draft angles. So if you look across here, you should be able to see clearly that draft angle. It's across this center line here. So that represents the split line. This boss is offset. This one will be half in the cope and half in the drag. So that's where we are with that. Now the other feature are these two core prints. So the founder will have hopefully some pre-made core prints that he can put into this to form the two holes. That will save a lot of material and hopefully give a better casting result. And the other thing that I want to do is consider putting core prints on this feature, this cross boss. So I'm going to probably make up something out of nylon. It's quicker for me to do that than turn some wood up at the moment for those. And I'm going to have to just check with the founder that he'd be able to put a core print this way and an intersecting one this way, because those two holes intersect, and he's going to have to cut away this larger core print slightly to allow the smaller one to go through it. I took some trouble in forming the fillets using car body filler. That wasn't just for cosmetic reasons, but also to enable the pattern to be removed from the mold as easily as possible. I spray painted the finished patterns to give them a bit more resilience before taking them to the foundry. Welcome to my local foundry. Here you'll see the top of the furnace, looking down into it. You can see here the scrap iron ready to be smelted and also the fuel in preparation. Just like everywhere in the world, inflation is really high. In Pakistan is extremely high, and he was complaining at how much the cost of fuel has increased recently. You can see all the moulding boxes lined up here ready for pouring. My job was in fact quite late in the day, immediately prior to firing up the furnace. I wonder how many of you know what a threshing machine is. Well, here they're making pulleys for locally made threshing machines to thresh the wheat. This is their homemade release compound made from diesel and something else, which they're going to smear onto the patterns to enable it to be easily released from the mold. I wondered for a moment if he was ignoring my split line, so we were having a bit of a discussion there about where the split line should come. Okay, अभी समझ आए. I intended for the split line to be half in one box and half in the other moulding box. He didn't do it that way, but as it turned out, the result was fine. I did notice, however, that it was a bit difficult for him to get the pattern out of the mould, and I think that's because the split line was slightly below the level of the surface.
I
was asking him how many molds they produce at a time, and he said between 70 and 80, with a total weight of around about 500 kilograms. The sound they used appears to be fairly ordinary sound for what they use around here, but it's mixed with with sugar cane syrup, which is also locally produced, and they have a machine outside with kind of a mixing machine where they recycle the sand and mix in this syrup to make this sticky mixture. Looks may be deceiving, but on the day that I filmed this, the temperature was in the mid-40s. So what an environment to be working in. It was so hot, in fact, that right at the end of the video, when I showed the material beginning to be poured, my camera stopped working. It was just too hot. It couldn't handle the heat.
निकला ठीक
So here's just explaining to me how the runner is offset from the mould so that the weight of the material doesn't destroy the mould, but falls on an unimportant area first and then flows into the mould. I really appreciated the time that they gave to me to explain things as they went along. And in the background there, someone's calling me for a cup of tea. So they sat me down under the tree there, under the shade of the tree, and gave me tea. So a very pleasant experience. So here's applying the magical homemade release agent. I guess he felt this was an area where the sand was particularly prone to sticking to the pattern. And here we're having a bit of a philosophical conversation about the corruption that comes with money. Oops, one of my fragile patterns has just broken. I thought that might happen. Anyway, we were able to retrieve the situation. As you can see here, we were able to bend it straight, and actually the pattern worked fine and the casting came out just as I'd hoped. As a sideline to the foundry, they also produce cylinder liners, and next door they had a cylindrical grinder set up to grind these sleeves. They then go into the market for engine reboring.
जी जी अभी उनकी बारी है आपकी बहुत अच्छी बारी हुई है
It's time now to return to the first mold box and for the older gentleman here to put the cores in. And you can see there's actually digging right down to the bottom there, and what I didn't realize was that he wants the cores to extend right up to the top of the mold box. And explain the reason for that is so that the gas has easy access to get out of the mold box.
हवा भी निकलेगा अच्छा
So just checking the size of his cores with my core prints and gently abrading it to get exactly the right size. You can see just how good a fit the cores are in the core prints. I imagined for some reason that it would be a much looser fit than that. And now he's beginning to work on the smaller core for the cross hole, and you can see that this fit is going to be a little bit fiddly as I expected.
अच्छा ये भी हवा निकालने के लिए
इसके अंदर सुराग नहीं इसके अंदर है
अच्छा
So he's making a hole in the middle of the core to allow gas to come out, and he points out that the other one already has a hole in it.
ठीक ठीक ठीक
The second mould is nearly finished, and they're really urging me now to go for my tea.
ठीक है जी
दे दे यार थोड़ी
हो गया ना
अच्छा नहीं उन्हें पूछो भाई तो क्यों कहता आग ला दूंगा आगे हो जा कुछ नहीं होता
have a closer look at the castings as they've come back from the foundry. There's some flashing, as you can see. This is the worst affected piece. So you can see this one has come out really quite cleanly. I was concerned about these recesses here, but it's separated quite well from the mould. I was a little bit concerned about this internal feature. It's quite deep. It's about, what is that, 1.5 inches, but that's come out cleanly. Also, the cores have come out well. I think you can see they look good. And what I really like about this is that I don't have a huge amount of machining to do. I think there's about 1/4 to 3/8 on that diameter to come off to bring it to size. The cores are nicely positioned in the center of the features. I did include a small shrinkage allowance to bring these centers to the correct 6 inches. So I calculated it was around about 1/16, and I just checked this using the mean diameter and estimating the centers, and it looks like it's bang on. That's where the feeder was that's been broken off. So I think in a way I'm probably 3/4 of the way to the finished product, even before I start machining. The only question that remains is whether I can get this through airport security. I hope to join you from the UK next time. I shan't be going straight into machining these castings because I've got to get my newly acquired mill up and running. So I'll probably do a few videos on that first, and then sometime down the line I will hopefully be able to machine these. Thanks for joining me. I hope to see you again next time from the UK.